Last time, Elizabeth said she wanted to tip him off but was rejected by Lucas. Then Elizabeth came up with this method to indirectly tell Lucas the whereabouts of Thomas and Benjamin. Lucas scrolled through his WeChat moments. Sure enough, he had posted a promotion for a meeting in City N a few days ago. Elizabeth knew he had come to City N. Seeing that Thomas had also come, she couldn't help but reveal this news to Lucas. There was a time on that screenshot showing that Thomas had just arrived in City N today. The previous meeting had already ended. Benjamin should have gone back, but he stayed because of Thomas. Lucas twitched the corners of his lips. He had no interest in the two men at all and didn't want to know what they were doing. He didn't go to Elizabeth. He immediately scrolled past that moment's post and pretended he didn't see it. As a result, Lucas underestimated Elizabeth's perseverance. Seeing that Lucas didn't respond, she regarded it as a kind of acquiescence. As long as there was an update on Thomas's side, she immediately reposted it to her own moments. Of course, she created a separate group and there was only Lucas in it. Lucas could occasionally see through Elizabeth's moments that Thomas was always hanging out with Benjamin in City N, showing their affection. He didn't have any reaction. He just read it and that was it. Leo finished his official business in City N. Henry led most of the people back to City S. Only a few assistants were left beside Leo and he started the next itinerary. Attend a birthday party of a big shot. Lucas thought he was going to go back with Henry, but Leo kept him. Didn't you handle the contact with the brand side before? You stay. With just one word from the president, it meant that Lucas was going to be Leo's personal assistant. In these few days, Leo became much more high profile. He moved out of the hotel and directly moved into his property in City N. Leo's house in City N, although not as luxurious as the Yunting mansion in City S, was also in a prime location and everything was well equipped. He even changed his car. He no longer used a new energy vehicle but replaced it with a more expensive luxury car. Lucas then understood that during the previous meeting with officials and scholars around, Leo couldn't show off his wealth. Now that he was attending a private party, he needed to be high profile. The richer he seemed, the more it could set off the host's status. Lucas also moved into Leo's house. Of course, he couldn't live inside. When Leo had instructions, he would be called over. After the matter was finished, he needed to leave immediately. Leo was sitting on the large sofa in the living room, wearing a casual shirt and sitting in a relaxed posture. While the president was relaxed, Lucas couldn't be. He stood beside Leo in a proper manner and said, "Mr. Leo, Mr. Caleb's gift has arrived in City N. Mr. Caleb, that is, Caleb is the big shot who is having a birthday this time. He is an old generation figure in the automotive industry. Whether it's the introduction of imported cars, the prosperity of joint venture cars, or the rise of domestic cars, he has been involved in all of them. This year is his 60th birthday, so it naturally attracts wide attention. Those who can be invited by Caleb to his birthday party not only need to be wealthy but also have a considerable social status. This time, Alexander will also come to congratulate Caleb on his birthday, but Leo is representing himself and will not come with his father." Hearing what Lucas said, Leo said, "In that case, leave the rest to you. Make sure the gift is safely delivered to Caleb on his birthday." "Yes, Mr. Leo." Lucas agreed, but he was feeling nervous inside. It sounded easy, but Leo's gift was extremely valuable. There couldn't be the slightest mistake in the storage and transportation process, so the pressure was huge. Lucas calmed himself down and said, "There is another thing, Mr. Leo. Do you have a candidate for your female companion at the party?" Since Leo hadn't decided on a female companion for a long time, Lucas couldn't make preparations. Originally, Lucas thought this was a very simple matter. Leo was so rich that surely many people would want to be his female companion. Even if they didn't care about the money, just for Leo's good looks, it would be worth it. All he had to do was choose a beautiful one. However, when he mentioned this matter, Leo looked unhappy. He frowned, leaned back into the sofa, and remained silent with a gloomy expression. Lucas understood that it was again due to Leo's cleanliness problem. Leo didn't like to have close contact with others. At the party, they would surely walk arm in arm, and it was likely that another expensive suit would be ruined. Being so fussy was really troublesome. The president should carry disposable protective clothing with him and throw it away after one use, so as not to be so wasteful. Lucas grumbled in his heart. He thought that if he had known this, he should have brought Ivy here. Leo remained silent all the time. Lucas tried to give a suggestion. How about asking Ivy to come overnight? Leo glanced at him and said, It's not appropriate. Lucas didn't understand. Why wasn't it appropriate? Didn't Ivy often be Leo's female companion when she was a secretary? Leo scolded him. How can you be so stupid? Lucas. What was going on? Why did he suddenly scold him? Leo explained irritably. She's no longer a secretary. If I still take her with me, people will start to have all sorts of thoughts. I see. A secretary can accompany the president openly. But if she's no longer a secretary and still follows him around, it will put Ivy in a very delicate position, which is not good for her future. Lucas cast a complicated look at Leo. Being an emperor isn't easy either. You need to balance the forces from all sides and even don't have the freedom to choose your concubines. However, as the president, Leo is rich and getting on in years. He should have some female confidants, right? Lucas rummaged through his memory and realized that he had never heard any rumors about Leo having a girlfriend. When he worked in the administrative department before, when everyone was gossiping together, there were endless gossip about other supervisors, but there was never any news about Leo. Leo is so fussy. He probably has a hard time getting along with others. Maybe no one can stand him. Lucas was standing in front of the sofa, lost in thought. After a while, he realized that Leo hadn't said a word for a long time. He turned his head and found Leo staring at him. Every time he was stared at by the president like this, he was extremely scared because the president would definitely say something astonishing next. Sure enough, Leo said, You're actually quite good looking. Lucas' facial features were really delicate. His big, clear eyes had a smooth curve, which were lively and charming, like containing the spring scenery. His lips were also perfectly shaped and must be very soft to kiss. He was good-looking, and what's more, he had a slender figure. He was gentle but not effeminate, with a bit of heroism. He could really be described as handsome. Lucas took a step back, cleared his throat and said, It's okay. Of course he knew he was good-looking. There was no need to say more. Anyone with eyes could see that. Why don't you go to the banquet with me? Leo crossed his legs and sized Lucas up and down. Lucas took another step back and said warily, It's not appropriate, Mr. Leo. What's inappropriate? You might look more beautiful than those female celebrities in a dress. Leo said expressionlessly and snapped his fingers in coordination. And with a bit of makeup, it would be perfect. He didn't know if he should be angry and just stood there stiffly. Leo glanced at him again and sneered, Just kidding. Don't be so nervous. Joking aside, when Leo imagined Lucas in women's clothing, he actually found it not at all out of place. This is really strange. Leo looked at Lucas's face and said impatiently, Why do you have to be so good looking for no reason? It made everyone else look mediocre. And it was even harder for him to find a female companion. Lucas. Is this also his fault? Leo threw himself into the sofa restlessly and closed his eyes. The president seems to be a bit out of control today, Lucas thought. Is finding a female companion really that annoying to him? Leo was resting with his eyes closed. After a moment, he said, I won't bring a female companion. I'll go alone. As soon as he finished speaking, the phone on the coffee table rang. Leo gave Lucas a look. Lucas walked over to pick up the phone while thinking, You're too lazy to even bend your waist. Why don't you just be lazy to death? When Lucas handed the phone to Leo, he glanced at the screen, which showed the words Queen. Obviously, Leo also saw it, so he got even more annoyed. Mom. Leo answered the phone, frowned, and communicated with the other side. After a while, he hung up the phone, rubbed his eyebrows and said, Send someone here right away. Lucas had been standing by and roughly understood that Mr. Leo's mother had personally selected a companion for the president to accompany him to the banquet. Leo directed Lucas, I'll leave this matter to you. Receive the person well, buy whatever she needs, and then just pack her up and send her to the banquet entrance. I'll take her in. Is it like ordering takeout and just packing it up? Lucas stood up straight and kept silent. Leo turned his head and asked, What? Do you have any objections? Lucas thought for a while and said, Mr. Leo, I apply for a salary increase. Leo moved his body, raised his eyebrows and looked at him, saying jokingly, "You've only been with me for how long? And you're already thinking about a salary increase." Lucas said righteously, "My job is to assist you in the company. Now you're asking me to handle personal matters, and the person I'm assisting has also changed. It's not excessive for me to ask for extra pay." Leo crossed his long legs and snorted, "Have you forgotten that you're still on probation?" Mentioning this, Lucas felt a bit intimidated. But when it came to personal interests, he mustn't back down. He said, "These are two different things." Leo glanced at him sideways and sneered, "Everyone who dared to bargain with me is dead." Lucas seriously praised, "Mr. Leo can take someone's life without a trace. It's really amazing." Leo squinted his eyes. "I didn't know you were so talkative before." Lucas modestly said, "I've improved my eloquence a lot by staying around Mr. Leo. Leo folded his arms, pursed his lips, and said, "Whether you can get a raise depends on your performance." As he said that, he didn't forget to intimidate Lucas. "If you don't handle things well, I'll order you a red dress. Then you can wear it to Caleb's banquet." The next day, Lucas went to the airport to pick up Leo's female companion. That lady, to be exact, a young girl, was wearing a light, colored short woolen overcoat and a pair of long boots. Her thighs were bare, wearing nothing. Lucas, who was afraid of the cold, was deeply impressed when he saw that. Lucas stepped forward, smiled, and said, "Ms. Layla, hello. I'm Lucas, Mr. Leo's secretary. Mr. Leo sent me to pick you up." The young girl lifted her big eyes with false eyelashes, looked behind Lucas, and asked, "Didn't Leo come?" Lucas politely said, "Mr. Leo is very busy with affairs and specifically told me to pick up Ms. Layla. Ms. Layla sized up Lucas, then suddenly threw her bag at him. Lucas quickly caught it and heard this exquisitely dressed young girl say, "What? Just a bag carrier?" Lucas began to regret that he should have asked Leo for more money when asking for a raise. This Ms. Layla was named Layla. Lucas suspected it was a stage name because she was a newly debuted actress who had acted in an idol drama. It was said that she had a good family background, so she was arranged by Mrs. Alexander for her son. Lucas was not familiar with the entertainment industry and didn't know how famous this Ms. Layla was. However, he estimated that she wasn't very popular because no one recognized her when she got off the plane. Lucas held Layla's bag and said to Layla, "Ms. Layla, the car is outside. Come with me." Layla had hoped to see Leo. Unexpectedly, there was only a secretary here, and she didn't know why Leo didn't send more people. She was a bit unhappy and took her anger out on Lucas. "Why is it so cold in City N? You don't even know to prepare warm clothes for me." Lucas said with a smile, "I heard that there are often reporters at the airport. I thought Ms. Layla would want to leave beautiful photos." The raw photos of this 18-line little star picked up at the airport were all bought. Lucas was just following the topic. Layla fell for it. She immediately straightened her body, her legs didn't feel cold anymore, and she generously posed and said, "Let's go." In order to pose for a good look, Layla walked very slowly. As she was walking, she suddenly turned back, stared at Lucas, and asked, "Are you really just a secretary?" He was quite good-looking. Lucas maintained a perfect smile and said, "I'm Mr. Leo's personal secretary. Mr. Leo sent me here because he attaches great importance to Ms. Layla." Layla looked at him a few more times, snorted, and left the airport. Speaking of which, there were only 2 days left before the banquet. Leo had completely disappeared, leaving Layla to Lucas. He really intended to show up just before the banquet. Lucas understood what the president meant. He planned to take Layla around City N, hoping to get through the day like this. Ms. Layla had no interest in the various scenic spots in City N at all. She only loved shopping. Once she plunged into the shopping mall, she wouldn't come out. Instead, Lucas felt relieved. It was okay not to run around. Apparently, Leo had anticipated this situation and gave Lucas a card in advance, saying he could swipe it however he wanted. Layla was not polite either. She not only set her eyes on the latest bags and clothes, but also took a fancy to the limited edition items in the catalog. Fortunately, Lucas had crammed on brand knowledge before. He had some understanding of these luxury goods, so there was no problem in arranging things for Layla and communicating with the sales clerks. First, Layla was just killing time. After getting addicted to shopping, she found that Lucas could keep up with her pace. She asked him, "Do you often help your Mr. Leo buy things for girls?" Why are you so familiar with these? Here came the legendary death question. Lucas smiled and said, Mr. Leo is very filial and often buys things for his mother. I'm the one arranging all these. Layla was introduced by Leo's mother, so there should be a relationship between the two of them. Sure enough, Layla's expression softened a little. She said, Sister Elena pays the most attention to quality. Her supplies really need some thought. Calling the president's mother sister, isn't she afraid of messing up the generations? Lucas had never served the queen anyway. He managed to deceive her. Then Layla pointed at the picture album and asked Lucas, Which one do you think looks good? Here came the second death question. Lucas smiled and said, Ms. Layla, why not buy both? Then wear them for Mr. Leo to see which one he likes. Come on, he was just a secretary. If he casually gave his opinion, no matter what he said, Layla wouldn't be happy. Originally, Layla was going to satirize Lucas as a country bumpkin with no taste no matter which one he chose. Now that Lucas had shifted the conflict to Leo, she couldn't say anything more. She glared at Lucas and said, Then Mr. Leo will have to spend some money. Next, when Layla was shopping, she always asked Lucas some strange questions, such as how much a secretary earned in a year and whether it was enough for her to buy a bag, and how big Leo's family pool was and how many secretaries were needed to clean it. Lucas always smiled and said, Secretaries are not responsible for cleaning the swimming pool. Layla thought she had caught Lucas' mistake and said, Shouldn't a secretary be able to do everything? You're not up to it. I'll have Mr. Leo fire you later. Lucas continued to smile. Layla was just talking big and couldn't really drive Lucas away. Then she continued to stroll in the mall, trying on countless clothes, shoes, and bags. While trying on bags, Layla started chatting with the salesgirl. Lucas stood aside with the bodyguards. His expression was impeccable, but his mind began to wander. This Ms. Layla has never even met Mr. Leo, yet she really doesn't treat herself as an outsider. Mr. Leo will probably keep receiving payment notices. I wonder how he feels. Lucas couldn't help complaining in his heart. Mr. Leo is so generous to a woman he has never met, but when it comes to giving him a raise, he always haggles. Layla was chatting merrily with the salesgirl. Lucas changed his standing posture and glanced casually. Then he was stunned. Through the glass door, he saw Thomas arm in arm with Benjamin walking towards him. Lucas subconsciously stepped further inside to hide his figure. He knew that Benjamin and Thomas were in City N, but he didn't expect to run into them here. Fortunately, this store they were in mainly sold women's bags. The two of them were just passing by and didn't look inside. Thomas nestled against Benjamin, with a happy and shy smile on her face, looking like a delicate bird. Benjamin put his arm around Thomas, looking bold and unrestrained, as if he was going to buy the whole mall. In fact, their economic situation was the opposite of their appearance, but passers-by didn't know. They just thought one was handsome and the other was delicate and lovely, a sweet and harmonious couple. Lucas came out after the two of them had gone far away and twitched the corner of his lips. Before, Benjamin had to think twice before buying a sports brand. Now he can afford to shop in high-end malls. I wonder who pays the bill between him and Thomas. Lucas didn't want to be so envious, but he was here acting as a lackey for his boss's female companion, while his cheating ex-boyfriend and the mistress were strolling in the mall leisurely. He really felt unbalanced. Just then, Layla picked a fight again and asked the third deadly question. Does Mr. Leo prefer male secretaries? Lucas answered tactfully. Mr. Leo hired me to avoid suspicion. It's unclear whether Layla took it in or not, but she nodded. Lucas wanted to tell Layla that if the president liked him, would he have sent him to her? Both of them are out of favor members, so stop causing trouble. Throughout the day, Leo didn't show up. Layla was resentful and had nowhere to vent her anger, so she could only pick on Lucas verbally. Unfortunately, Lucas was so impeccable that Layla felt even more aggrieved. So she bought a lot of things, venting her anger with money. In the end, Lucas and several bodyguards were laden with shopping bags, not to mention the items to be directly mailed. Lucas thought she was being a bit too excessive. If she were the president's wife, it would be okay. But Layla hadn't even met Leo yet and was spending so much money, which seemed very impolite. Men are willing to spend money on women, but no man wants to be taken advantage of for no reason. But he wasn't in a position to say anything. Leo didn't raise any objections even though he kept receiving consumption text messages. Seeing the sun setting, Layla kept bringing up dinner. Lucas understood that she wanted to have dinner with Leo, but Leo had informed him in advance that he wouldn't have dinner with her or meet her until the banquet. Lucas could only make excuses to fob her off, which made Layla even more dissatisfied. "I'll fire you at the first opportunity," Lucas thought to himself. "Even if I scold the president to his face, he hasn't fired me. Who do you think you are?" Lucas managed to persuade Layla to return to the hotel first. Unexpectedly, he received a call from Leo on the way. He thought for a moment, walked aside, and chose not to let Layla notice. Lucas thought Leo had changed his mind and wanted to see Layla. Unexpectedly, Leo's first words were, "How's the situation on your side?" He said cautiously, "Ms. Layla is a bit unhappy." Leo's cold voice came from the other end of the phone. "She's swiping her cards so happily. How can she still be unhappy?" Lucas could only say, "She hopes to meet you." Leo sneered. If Layla had behaved more gracefully, he might have entertained her for his mother's sake. Unfortunately, she didn't. "I'm not asking about her. I'm asking about you," Leo asked. "Did you suffer any losses?" Lucas felt a warm feeling in his heart being such a wimp. The capitalist made him work hard but still cared about him. It wasn't completely heartless. Lucas knew that Leo was comforting him. After all, he was asked to come and serve the princess. He said, "No. I'm Mr. Leo's man. How could I let myself suffer?" Just as he said this, Layla suddenly rushed over. Seeing Lucas standing with his back to her, she shouted, "Hey, what are you doing? There are a lot of things waiting for you to carry. Are you slacking off? Later, you're not allowed to use the elevator. Carry the things up the stairs to my room." Lucas' back stiffened. He didn't know if he should turn around and tell Layla that he was on the phone with Mr. Leo. Before he could react, there came a sentence from the other end of the phone, "Wait for me." Leo hung up the phone. Layla finally got to sit at the same table with Leo as she wished. This was a membership-only restaurant. One couldn't get in without a membership and usually reservations were required. Today, Leo had cut in line to book a private room which fully demonstrated Leo's status and ability. This wasn't even Leo's base city's. In the simple and solemn room, Leo and Layla were sitting face to face while Lucas was standing aside. Leo wasn't wearing a suit today. He was wearing a casual windbreaker and still looked imposing. Without taking off his coat and sitting there expressionlessly, he had the air of a noble plutocrat. Layla shyly lowered her head and said softly, "Sister Elena has always spoken highly of you. She hopes we can get to know each other." By mentioning Mrs. Alexander first, she showed that she had a close relationship with Mrs. Alexander. She blinked and showed a pure and beautiful smile, then stretched out her delicate and fair hand to Leo. "Nice to meet you." Lucas was really impressed. In an instant, Layla had transformed from a spoiled little princess into a gentle and refined young lady. Her acting skills were really good. He thought of Thomas. Nowadays, did everyone like to act like a green tea bitch? Leo lifted his eyelids, ignored Layla's handshake request. There was no emotion in his deep eyes as he said, "Then what should I call you, auntie or granny?" Layla was stunned. Lucas held back his laughter. "Serves you right for randomly claiming sisters." Layla quickly regained her composure, forcing a smile and saying, "In our circle, we call our elders elder sister." She looked at Leo tenderly, her big watery eyes shy and timid. "I didn't mean to elevate my seniority and take advantage of you." Leo said, "Don't randomly claim kinship." Then he turned to Lucas and said, "Sit down." This time it was Lucas' turn to be stunned. This doesn't seem right. After all, he was just a subordinate. He was about to leave after watching the show, but unexpectedly Leo actually asked him to sit down. Layla obviously didn't want to be disturbed. Without even looking at Lucas, she kept addressing Leo coquettishly, "We can get to know each other better." Leo said, "I already know you quite well." Just as Layla showed a delighted expression, she heard Leo say, "Based on the fact that you wiped out the daily turnover of one of my branches, I know you very well." Layla's expression changed slightly and she said, "Mr. Leo isn't such a stingy person, is he?" Instead of responding to her, Leo continued to say to Lucas, "I told you to sit down." Lucas had no choice but to go and get a chair. Leo asked him, "What are you doing?" Lucas originally wanted to sit behind Leo, but Leo insisted that he sit in the main seat. Lucas braced himself and pretended not to notice Layla secretly glaring at him. Seeing that Lucas was seated, Leo then said to Layla, I heard that you're an actress. Layla nodded with a smile, yes. Your mother is my senior. She's an artist I respect very much. Leo didn't even look at her properly from beginning to end. Didn't the older generation artists teach you what it means to have both integrity and artistry? Layla's smile froze on her face. Or rather, you didn't learn well, Leo said. I bet you didn't listen carefully in your primary school moral education class. Layla could no longer force a smile and said, is it really necessary to be like this? It was just using your card. How ungentlemanly of you. Leo didn't want to talk about money and instead said, I heard that you wanted to have a meal with me. Layla didn't understand. Weren't they already in the restaurant? She showed a wrong look, looking both cute and pitiful. I was really looking forward to it, but now I'm a bit disappointed. Leo nodded and said, then you must be less disappointed than me. Just sitting across from you, I'm almost losing my appetite. Layla had never been spoken to like this before. She suddenly stood up, her face turning pale. Pointing at Leo, she said, how dare you scold me? Are you even a man? Leo's eyes were as cold as ice. He said, I only respect those who respect others. Layla was a bit confused by his words. What do you mean by respect or not? I haven't offended you. Leo lifted his chin, gesturing towards Lucas, and said, you've offended him. Layla widened her eyes. She came from a good family background. She debuted in the entertainment industry, invested in a youth idol drama, and was always flattered all the way. No one had ever talked to her like this. Layla was so angry that her hands trembled. Pointing at Lucas, she said, isn't he just a lousy secretary? She didn't understand why Leo was standing up for the secretary. Leo frowned and said sternly, you don't even know how to write the word respect. How can you compare with him? Layla's lips quivered and her whole body shook. The powder on her face was almost shaken off. She stamped her foot, picked up her bag on the seat, and turned to leave. When she reached the door, she paused, quietly looked back, and found that Leo had no intention of keeping her. She was so angry that steam seemed to come out of her head. She snorted and slammed the door as she left. Only then did Lucas dare to speak. Should I go after her? Leo glanced at him. What for? I finally got rid of her. Lucas didn't care about Layla's feelings. He was just afraid that her leaving would delay things. He said, but what about tomorrow's banquet? There would be no female companion. Leo said, she'll show up tomorrow. Lucas. So shameless? Leo said impatiently, she came for this. How could she give up so easily? Oh. Lucas nodded. Then he felt uncomfortable again. Then I'll take care of Ms. Layla again tomorrow. Leo tapped on his forehead. Are you stupid? Why are you still rushing to get involved? Lucas found that the president didn't have a cleanliness obsession only when hitting him. He had tapped on his head several times. Once when speaking ill of others behind their backs, once after getting drunk, and now this is the third time. Every time Leo took action, his movements were very gentle. Lucas didn't feel offended. Instead, he felt like being educated by an elder. Seeing him dejected, Leo softened his tone a lot. I didn't know that Ms. Elena would send such a person over. Ms. Elena is the president's mother. She is a very famous actress. Lucas grew up watching her films and TV shows. When he first learned this, he was in a daze for a long time and developed deep admiration for the president. Of course, this admiration turned into other emotions as his work deepened. Anyway, the president's mother is not an ordinary person. I thought I could just brush it off, but I didn't expect this person to be so outrageous, Leo said with anger still in his voice. I will send today's bill to Ms. Jiang and let her see what kind of person she has pushed on me. Lucas blinked his eyes and kind of understood what was going on this time. It was said to be choosing a female companion, but actually Ms. Jiang was introducing a blind date for Mr. Leo. Mr. Leo found it annoying and sent him to deal with it. Unexpectedly, Layla asked for an exorbitant amount and had a bad character, making the situation very embarrassing. Lucas' look at Leo immediately changed. It turns out that the great president is also urged to get married and can't get out of it. He's no different from an ordinary single man of advanced age. What kind of look is that? It's so strange. Frowning, Leo called the waiter over and prepared to serve the dishes. Lucas thought they wouldn't have this meal. He asked in confusion, is someone else coming? Leo said, no one else. Then why were there 2 servings of appetizers? Seeing that Lucas didn't react, Leo said, pick up your chopsticks. It's a reward for you. Lucas opened his eyes wide in surprise. Is the president inviting him to have a meal together? Lucas was still in a daze. Leo narrowed his eyes and asked menacingly, "What? Not eating? Of course I'll eat." Lucas quickly picked up his chopsticks. "Come on, the per capita consumption in this restaurant is in the 4-digit range. It would be stupid not to eat." He showed a big smile to Leo and said, "Thank you, Mr. Leo. You're the most generous." Leo looked at his crescent-like eyes and snorted, "Flattery." Although this restaurant offers Chinese cuisine, it uses a set menu system with individual servings, which perfectly suits Leo's misophobia. The private room is decorated in an antique style. There are Chinese ink paintings hanging on the wall, hazy like fog. The air is filled with the faint and alluring fragrance of bamboo, adding a unique charm. As the waiter served the dishes, he introduced the source of the ingredients and the unique cooking methods. The two people at the table listened silently and then picked up their chopsticks at the same time to enjoy the delicious food. Needless to say, Leo's dining etiquette is elegant and proper. Lucas is also natural and graceful, with a leisurely attitude. Leo glanced at his secretary and asked, "How does it taste?" Lucas put the deep-fried okra on his chopsticks into his mouth. The outer shell was crispy, and there was a shrimp hidden inside. When he took a bite, rich juice flowed out. After he swallowed it completely, he said, "It's delicious." Leo twitched the corner of his lips and continued to ask, "Are you still feeling wronged?" When he heard Layla shouting on the phone, he knew that his little secretary would definitely feel wronged. Although the little secretary can pretend well on the surface now, Leo is quite sure that Lucas has some small grievances in his heart. Lucas understood that Layla's incident today was just an unwarranted disaster, and the president invited him to dinner to comfort him. He rolled his eyes, winked mischievously, and said with a smile, "Mr. Leo, you promised to give me a raise. You can't just fob me off with this meal." Lucas didn't know how lively he looked when he smiled sincerely. It was completely different from before, like a dim star shining again, or a tree that had gone through a winter coming back to life in spring. It's still better to have such a little secretary. Sure enough, as a superior, one doesn't like to see one's own people being bullied. Leo snorted and said, "Will you still speak ill of me?" Lucas said, "I've promised again and again that I'll never speak ill of you." He looked at Leo with a smile and secretly thought that if he were to speak ill, he'd do it in his heart. Lucas was very satisfied when he returned to the hotel. He couldn't eat at such a nice restaurant often. The president was nice to him because of his guilt. It's just that his legs and feet ached after standing all day. He lay in bed thinking about what had happened today. After a while, he picked up his phone and sent a message to Elizabeth. "I ran into those two guys today. Today's experiences were really eventful." The negative energy he received from Layla had been dispelled by Leo. Now that he had calmed down, only the encounter with those two gay men still bothered Lucas. He finally admitted that he really cared. If he didn't care, he wouldn't have allowed Elizabeth to tip him off. He looked forward to seeing those two scumbags get their just desserts every day. Elizabeth replied almost instantly, "Did you go up and confront them?" Lucas, "See. No." Elizabeth, "Okay." Elizabeth had been secretly reporting Thomas's schedule to Lucas. Today, Lucas took the initiative to contact her. Did this mean he was making everything clear? Based on her observations, there must be a story among these three people. Lucas didn't want those two to be together. She thought for a moment, then made up her mind and decided to side with her old classmate. She stopped beating around the bush and said, "Thomas's is a big spender and very willful. He likes to be flattered, but he's extremely obedient in front of that teacher Benjamin. I don't know what strange game they're playing." Elizabeth sent a message to comfort Lucas, "They'll break up sooner or later." Just breaking up wasn't enough, but Lucas knew no one could punish them. He said to Elizabeth, "Thank you for this period of time." "Elizabeth, there's no need to thank me. I've fallen in love with the feeling of being an undercover agent. It's exciting." "Elizabeth, by the way, Thomas seems to be invited to a birthday party of a big shot. It looks very grand. He might stay in City N for a few more days. What about you? When will you come back?" Lucas was stunned. Thomas was actually invited to Mr. Caleb's party, and he wasn't even qualified to enter. Leo didn't ask him to pick up Layla tomorrow. That means once he arranges Caleb's gift properly, he can take a rest. And Leo will take Layla while Thomas will take Benjamin to happily attend the luxurious banquet. Lucas understands that the secretary is like a screw, but he still feels a bit jealous inside. He said to Elizabeth, "I came to City N for work. I'll go back once the work is done. Elizabeth said that she would continue to keep an eye on those two people and report to him as soon as there is any news. At the same time, she said you should also find a good man and show your affection in front of those two. That would be the most satisfying revenge. Lucas thought that he didn't want to be in a relationship at all now. He just wanted to work hard to make money. Only money would never betray you. The two chatted for a few more words. When it was time to go to bed, they said goodnight to each other. The next day, Lucas contacted the transportation company and the security company to send the birthday gift to Caleb's mansion. After the banquet is over, they can return to City S tomorrow. Lucas watched as the security company loaded the things onto the vehicle and the vehicle set off. Once the colleagues at the Zhou mansion received them, his task would be completed. It takes half an hour to drive to the Zhou mansion. Lucas stood there, waiting to leave until he received the feedback message. While waiting, he let his mind wander. At today's birthday dinner, not only will Leo attend, but the couple Alexander and Elena should also be present. Layla was introduced by Elena. Leo can't refuse his mother's face, so even if he doesn't like her, he has to take her with him. I wonder what the scene will be like when those people meet. Lucas was imagining the drama in the wealthy family when he suddenly received a call. He thought there was a problem with the transportation and was startled. As it turned out, it was Layla calling. Lucas raised his eyebrows in surprise. He did give Layla his business card yesterday. He answered the phone and a shrill voice came at him. "Where's Mr. Leo?" Lucas politely replied, "Ms. Layla, I don't know Mr. Leo's whereabouts. You should have my colleagues there. You can ask them if you have any questions. I'm looking for you. Is Leo with you?" This person is simply unreasonable. Lucas endured his temper and calmly said, "Mr. Leo has other arrangements. I haven't seen him." "Liar. He defended you so much yesterday. You must be having an affair." Layla accused Lucas in an aggressive tone. "Unless you make him appear right away, I won't believe you." Leo was right. Layla really wouldn't give up easily. Not only did she not give up, but she also continued to make a scene. Lucas took a deep breath and said, "Ms. Layla, I don't have the power to order Mr. Leo. I really don't know his schedule." "Then get over here." Layla threw out this sentence and hung up the phone directly. Lucas stared at the phone in disbelief. There were still such willful and impolite people these days. He originally didn't want to pay attention, but his colleagues sent him a message saying that Layla had been making unreasonable troubles and they could hardly stop her. Lucas gritted his teeth, called a car, and went to the hotel where Layla was staying. When Lucas arrived, Layla was sitting in the suite. Next to her were her makeup artist and stylist. A little farther away, several of Lucas' colleagues were standing aside with headache-stricken expressions on their faces. Layla was halfway through her makeup. When she saw Lucas coming, she told the makeup artist to stop, stood up, and asked, "Where's Mr. Leo?" Lucas emphasized again, "I really haven't been with Mr. Leo." Layla only had a base makeup on and no contour or highlighter, making her face look pale and her features plain. She stared at Lucas, and Lucas could only continue to explain, "I've been dealing with the transportation of Mr. Caleb's birthday gift all day. I haven't seen Mr. Leo at all." Hearing what he said, Layla grasped another key point. "What birthday gift is it?" Lucas didn't know how to answer. "These have already been arranged." Layla spread out her hands and reached them in front of Lucas. "Give me the gift. I'll take it there." Lucas couldn't believe it. Layla could actually say such a thing. Did she know how valuable this gift was? It was almost priceless. Leo had spent a lot of effort to get it. Such a gift was worthy of Caleb's status. How could it be given to her just like that? Lucas originally thought Layla was a young lady from a wealthy family, but now he was sure that this person was uneducated, uncultured, and inexperienced. She definitely wasn't a well-bred young lady. Lucas was faintly angry and said while holding back his anger, "Ms. Layla, that gift has already been escorted to the Zhou mansion by a security company. I can't give it to you." Layla raised her eyes, walked up to Lucas, and said, "Are you deliberately going against me? Mr. Leo defended you yesterday and now you're getting arrogant. Give me the thing." Lucas was really speechless. He finally couldn't bear it anymore. "Ms. Layla, please stop making unreasonable troubles." Layla pointed at Lucas's nose and said, "How dare you talk to me like this?" Yesterday, Leo didn't give her face, which made Layla very embarrassed. After she came back, she just couldn't swallow this anger. Moreover, she couldn't give up Caleb's banquet and the Chin family's property. So today, she continued to put on makeup and change clothes and planned to stick to Leo at night. But when she saw Lucas's face, she couldn't stop getting angry. How dare this guy show off in front of her? Leo stood up for him yesterday. Do they have an affair? Layla thought she knew Elena and her status was extraordinary. How could she tolerate a little secretary showing off in front of her? She raised her arm and swung it at Lucas's beautiful face. She was going to teach this little seductress a lesson today. Lucas sank his face, caught Layla's arm, and said seriously, "Ms. Layla, please behave yourself." Layla didn't expect that he would dare to resist. She tried to pull her hand out and continue to slap Lucas, but she just couldn't. Lucas tightly held Layla down, looking very angry. What's wrong with these people one by one? Have they all forgotten that he is a man? This young lady even wants to humiliate him. Layla couldn't move and was a little scared. She shouted loudly, "What are you doing? Let me go." Lucas had a gloomy face and his dark eyes stared straight at Layla, looking somewhat eerie. Layla realized the difference in strength between them and felt nervous. She shouted to the people beside her, "Don't just stand there. Hold him back." The other people hesitated a bit. They also disliked this Ms. Layla, but after all, they were just subordinates. At this time, a voice came, "What are you screaming about?" Leo appeared at the door of the room with his bodyguards. When Lucas saw Leo, he was stunned and subconsciously let go. Layla got free and immediately rushed in front of Leo to cry, "Your secretary wanted to hit me." Leo dodged to the side to avoid being touched by Layla and frowned. True to her status as an actress, Layla instantly squeezed out a few tears, looking like a pear tree in the rain. He actually dared to lay hands on a woman. "You must stand up for me." Lucas suspected that she used to act in family intrigue dramas. How could she say such lines? He definitely wouldn't hit a woman and he was too lazy to explain. So he just stood there. Leo looked at the silent Lucas, then turned his head and said coldly to Layla, "You're not needed today. Pack your things and go back where you came from." Layla was stunned and forgot to cry. She retorted, "What did you say?" Leo was too lazy to repeat himself. He said to the several assistants in the room, "You guys arrange a flight for Ms. Layla and send her to the airport right away." Layla was dumbfounded and said, "I'm supposed to go with you to see Caleb later." Leo glanced at her and said, "No need." Layla realized what was going on and started to throw a tantrum. She rushed over and tried to grab Leo, saying, "I was introduced by your mother. How can you treat me like this?" Leo was extremely impatient. He directed the assistants to stop her. He stood in front of Layla, looking down at her, and warned her word by word, "Don't test my patience. I have a very bad temper." Leo often carried the arrogance of a superior. When he was in a bad mood, his face was tense, cold, and stern, and there was an indescribable pressure around him that made people break out in a cold sweat. Layla realized that Leo was serious. She was scared by his coldness and didn't dare to move anymore. Seeing that she had calmed down, Leo turned his head and called Lucas, "You." Lucas thought the president was going to scold him. He reluctantly walked to Leo's side, lowered his head, and said, "Mr. Leo, what are your instructions?" Leo said, "Come with me." After saying that, he strode forward. Lucas was stunned for a moment and then quickly followed. Leaving the suffocating room, the air became fresh. Lucas calmed down and felt a bit regretful. He had offended a rich person again. After all, Layla was Leo's guest. Just as Layla said, he was just a secretary and shouldn't have clashed with the boss's guest. He had also caused Leo to lose his female companion. Lucas nervously followed Leo. Leo didn't stop for a moment. He didn't know where they were going until they reached the parking lot. Then Leo continued to direct him, "Get in the car." Lucas asked confusedly, "Mr. Leo, where are we going?" Leo didn't answer. He just glanced at the time and said, "There's still time. Hurry up." Lucas didn't dare to ask any more questions and quickly got in the car. Their car drove all the way and finally arrived at the entrance of the high-end shopping mall where Lucas accompanied Layla yesterday. Lucas was even more confused. He followed Leo out of the car and walked into the mall. Finally, Leo told him, "You'll go to the banquet with me tonight." Lucas was stunned. If the president loses his female companion, he either attends the banquet alone or finds another one. But it should never be his turn. Before Lucas had time to feel happy, he suddenly remembered the joke before. Leo said that if he did a per job, he would buy him a red dress and let him wear it to the banquet. Lucas stopped in his tracks. Leo turned around and urged him, "Stop dawdling. There's not much time left." Lucas stared at the president in horror. Did the president bring him to the mall to buy a dress for him? Lucas staggered back and really wanted to turn around and run away. Seeing that he not only didn't follow but also wanted to go back, Leo impatiently took long strides back, grabbed Lucas' arm and pulled him inside. Lucas panicked and refused to move no matter what. He kept trying to escape. Leo was puzzled. "What are you doing?" Lucas' face flushed red. He timidly looked at the president, showing a pitiful expression with pleading in his eyes, "Can I not wear a dress?" Leo was also stunned. It took him a while to react. Then he stared at Lucas as if he were looking at an alien. Lucas was so ashamed and angry that he had just been proudly thinking of himself as a man in his heart, but now he was on the verge of tears. Seeing his red-faced and tear-filled eyes, Leo had a vague illusion that he was forcing a civilian girl. He subconsciously let go of him. Lucas turned around to run, but Leo called him back, "Come back." Lucas didn't dare to disobey the president after all. He stood still with his head down. Leo was really speechless and said angrily, "Sometimes I really want to split your head open to see what's inside." Leo had just grabbed Lucas's arm and it felt a bit awkward. But then he thought it wasn't unbearable. He cleared his throat and said, "Stop causing trouble and come upstairs with me." Lucas was having a mental struggle. He wanted to go to Mr. Caleb's birthday party, but he didn't want to wear a dress. Seeing Leo getting more and more impatient, he reluctantly followed. Leo led Lucas directly to the luxury goods counter. While striding forward, he said, "There's no time to have a suit custom made. Let's just buy one off the rack." He glanced at Lucas's clothes and said disdainfully, "Who told you to always dress so shabbily?" Lucas thought to himself that he had already bought clothes according to the president's requirements. If he was still being disliked, did he really have to wear a dress? Whoa. With the determination of a martyr, Lucas followed Leo into a store. He steeled himself and decided to talk clearly with the president. Although he was grateful that the president had asked him to attend the banquet, he really couldn't accept wearing women's clothing in public. As a result, when Lucas looked up, he found that it was a men's clothing store. The salesperson greeted them and offered friendly service. Leo pointed at Lucas and said to the salesperson, "Pick out a set of well-fitting clothes for him." Lucas blinked. The salesperson quickly brought the clothing catalog. Seeing that Lucas was still in a daze, Leo chose a few items on his own and urged, "Hurry up and try them on." Lucas was still confused and stupidly asked, "Don't I have to wear a dress?" Leo counter-questioned, "Do you want to?" Lucas shook his head frantically and quickly went to try on the clothes. In the fitting room, Lucas finally realized that the president had never intended for him to wear women's clothing from the beginning. The words that had scared him before were just a joke. Lucas suddenly felt extremely stupid, embarrassed to dawdle any longer. He blushed as he changed into the clothes and walked out. Leo was sitting on the sofa in the store, feeling both angry and amused. What on earth was his little secretary thinking? He actually took his joke seriously. Leo couldn't help but imagine again what Lucas would look like in women's clothing. Lucas was quite fair-skinned, and he would probably look good in red. He adjusted his sitting posture in a feigned serious manner. When he looked up, he saw the handsome young man standing in front of him. The well-tailored gray suit perfectly outlined Lucas' figure. To match Lucas' age, Leo chose a style with hidden patterns. Under the light, the faintly flowing patterns resembled flying birds about to take off, delicate yet full of vitality. With long legs and a slender waist, and a charming look in his eyes, which noble young master is this? Leo stared blankly at Lucas until Lucas asked uneasily, "Mr. Leo, is this appropriate?" As soon as Lucas spoke, his aura was shattered, and he became the respectful subordinate again. Leo gave him a complex look and said, "Can what I choose be wrong?" Lucas scratched his hair and said, "Mr. Leo really has good taste." He had never worn such clothes before and felt unsure, only knowing that they were expensive. Unexpectedly, Leo called the clerk over, quickly picked out another set, and asked Lucas to go and try it on. Lucas thought Leo was not satisfied and had to go to change clothes again. This time it was a mid-length coat-style dress, and Lucas still looked good in it. Even the clerk said, "Beautiful people look good in anything." But Leo still asked Lucas to change into the next set. After trying on several suits in a row, Lucas was confused. "Mr. Leo, aren't any of these okay?" As a secretary, he had to carefully remind him, "There isn't much time left." Leo couldn't explain his own feelings. He just wanted to see Lucas in new clothes. He somewhat understood why the little girls in his relatives' families liked to play dress-up games. Lucas was a bit tired after trying on several sets. Leo rubbed the space between his eyebrows, realized that he was wasting time, and said, "Let's go with the first set." Lucas let out a sigh of relief and wanted to go to pay the bill. Leo directly said, "Consider this your overtime pay." This was indeed a reasonable way, and Lucas didn't act coy. He said loudly, "Thank you, Mr. Leo." In the evening, Lucas followed Leo to Caleb's mansion. Lucas was originally a bit lacking in confidence and even wanted Leo to find a female companion at the last minute. But Leo firmly said, "There's no one else, it's you. Don't you have confidence?" Lucas suddenly straightened his back. How could he show signs of fear in front of his boss? He said, "I understand, Mr. Leo. Trust me." Leo twitched the corner of his lips and motioned for him to follow. The two walked into the banquet hall together. Leo walked in front, wearing a black suit, looking steady, handsome, calm, and polite. Lucas walked diagonally behind him, looking at the broad shoulders of the president, and felt that Mr. Leo's aura was at least 2.5 meters tall today. As soon as Leo entered the room, someone came over to greet him. Many people curiously stared at Lucas behind him. It's still rare to bring a male companion to the banquet. Generally, when two men come together, they are either acquaintances or have a relationship. But Lucas' face was really unfamiliar. Everyone couldn't remember which family's young master he was, and his appearance was so outstanding. Leo didn't try to hide it either. He generously told everyone that Lucas was his secretary. Others had some more speculations in mind. Some speculated that this secretary might be the second generation of some family, arranged to gain experience beside Leo. Some thought it was quite normal to bring a secretary, and it just happened to be a male this time. Still others believed that this was Leo's way of showing his attitude, focusing on work and not engaging in other fancy things. Some even thought that Leo might just like men. No matter how they speculated in their hearts, everyone was very polite to Lucas on the surface. Lucas couldn't let Leo down, so he tried his best to deal with all the distinguished guests present. He was good-looking in the first place, and he behaved appropriately, which made him very likable. Many people whom Lucas didn't even dare to think about talking to usually said a few more words to him. The magnificent mansion was brightly lit. The hall used a large area of metal elements, which were heavy and modern, reflecting the bright and dazzling light, telling the past glory, looking forward to the hopeful future, and echoing the identity of the host today. Even in his 60s, Caleb was still a leader in the automotive industry. Caleb raised his glass high and felt deeply on his birthday. "When I think of the days when I worried about a single wheel, I always get teary-eyed. I often sigh that time flies by, but I think I'm lucky to be here, watching the industry I've dedicated my life to thrive. Today, I'm entering another stage of my life. The vehicle industry is also at a critical moment of reform. I hope to keep going. For my tomorrow and yours." Lucas listened to Mr. Caleb's speech below, feeling excited and his blood boiling. The automotive industry is developing rapidly, and their company provides the core power. Grasping new energy means grasping the future. Lucas quietly glanced at the president. Leo was tilting his head slightly, listening to Mr. Caleb's speech attentively. The bright light shone on his face, making his facial features more profound. Lucas suddenly felt very proud. Proud to work in such a company and proud to have such a boss. Of course, it would be better if Leo's temper was a bit milder. When the banquet started, Lucas didn't have enough status to engage in too much socializing. But it was different for Leo. There were some people he had to greet, and others kept coming to him. Leo let Lucas move freely. Lucas understood that it was inconvenient for Leo to bring him along, so he found a place for himself to eat and drink some wine. After all, Caleb was old. The style of his birthday banquet was steady, and everyone drank moderately. Overall, the atmosphere was comfortable. While eating pastries, Lucas observed the guests. "Why can't I see Thomas and Benjamin? Elizabeth's information can't be wrong. In such an important occasion, Thomas will definitely come, but where is he?" Lucas involuntarily straightened his tie, preparing to face those two gay men in the best condition. "I'm also a person who has entered the venue. Who's afraid of you guys?" But after waiting for a long time, he didn't wait for those two. Instead, he saw Leo talking to Alexander. Actually, Leo has nothing much to talk about with his father except work. Alexander is always quite serious. "Seeing Leo," he asked, "is that your new secretary?" Leo nodded as a response. Alexander still has old-fashioned ideas. What's the point of bringing a male secretary to such an occasion? Leo lazily lifted his eyelids and said, "Then you have to ask your wife." If she hadn't stuffed a strange person on me, I wouldn't have to do this. I'll have someone send you the bill later. He said calmly, you pay for the money spent by the person your wife stuffed on me. Alexander has met countless people over the years and immediately understood what was going on. He was also a bit speechless and said, your mother got a role in a play and is making preparations. She didn't come today. Leo instantly understood. I'm afraid she sold me to get this role. Although Elena is a national actress, she is old after all. There are few roles she can get. She is also very picky about the quality of the scripts and is not willing to use Alexander's money to grab resources. So she doesn't have a proper role to play all year round. Leo investigated and found that Layla's family background doesn't appeal to him. But she has an uncle who is very successful in the entertainment industry. Probably he got in touch with Elena and got her some film and TV resources. Ms. Elena just sold her son off. Leo paused and said, then still send the bill to Ms. Jiang and let her pay. But with Ms. Jiang's personality, she won't be a scapegoat. The only common topics between the father and son are work and Elena. Now that they've finished talking, they can only fall into silence. At this time, Lucas walked over and stood beside Leo. Looking at Alexander with admiration in his eyes, he shouted, Chairman. The chairman of the group is right in front. One has to go over and say hello. Lucas nervously and uneasily stepped forward, hoping to leave a good impression on the chairman. Alexander is quite amiable in front of his subordinates. He said to Lucas, you're Lucas, right? The chairman actually knew him. Lucas was so nervous that he couldn't utter a long sentence. Yes, chairman. My name is Lucas. Work hard with Leo. Alexander encouraged Lucas and then went elsewhere to communicate with people at his level. Lucas stared at Alexander's back with starry eyes. Leo coughed beside him and said coldly, trying to curry favor with a higher up right away. Lucas quickly lowered his eyes and said to Leo, of course, I'll put you first. I've just admired the chairman for a long time. Leo snorted. Lucas vaguely found that the relationship between the father and son wasn't as close as he thought. He had also heard some things about the Chin family and chose not to say more at this time. After several rounds of drinks, the atmosphere at the banquet relaxed. Leo looked around the venue and suddenly turned to Lucas and said, I'm going out for a walk. If the emperor wanted to go out for some fresh air, Lucas naturally had to follow. He said, I'll accompany you, Mr. Leo. The two walked side by side from the side of the hall to the courtyard of the mansion. The winter in City N was terrifyingly cold. Still, there were quite a few people strolling in the yard. The owner of the mansion was very considerate and built an enclosed glass corridor which could both block the wind and allow people to enjoy the view. According to Lucas' observation, most of the people coming here were in pairs. Their relationship as superior and subordinate seemed particularly strange. Leo kept silent and walked in the corridor. The evergreen trees in the yard were hung with silver lights, shining brightly, creating an atmosphere somewhat like, on the night of the Lantern Festival, the east wind blows and thousands of trees of flowers seem to bloom. However, Lucas could sense that the president beside him was in a bad mood, which should have started after meeting Alexander. There are indeed many grudges in wealthy families. Lucas didn't know the inside story and couldn't offer comfort. He could only silently accompany Leo for a walk. After walking for a while, Leo asked, what have you gained from this trip to City N? Lucas was startled. Was it time to submit a summary report now? He gave a moderate answer, coming to City N has broadened my horizons. I've found that there is still much room for improvement in both my professional skills and my ability to handle interpersonal relationships. I'll definitely continue to work hard when I get back. Leo glanced at him and said, did you memorize the common phrases for year-end summaries on the internet? It's really difficult to have a sarcastic boss. Since that was the case, Lucas simply told the truth. I'm sincere. The more I see of the vast world, the more I realize my own insignificance. Thank you very much, Mr. Leo, for giving me the opportunity to come here. His status is not high enough, so he can only be an outsider at this banquet, but that's enough for him to see a broad future. Leo asked him, do you know why I transferred you to be my secretary? Lucas was originally just a junior clerk in the administrative department. Neither his experience nor his ability was top-notch, yet he was promoted out of turn to take Ivy's place. Lucas answered honestly, I don't know. It can't be because of his looks. Leo said, because you're stupid. Don't force me to curse you in my heart. Moreover, you're arrogant, Leo added softly. Lucas has a lot of petty emotions, which just shows that he's not convinced. Some people would just give up when they're not convinced, but Lucas will do better. He has a burning desire in his heart wanting to impress everyone. Lucas has never analyzed his own character. Since the president said so, he didn't hide it anymore and said, "Mr. Leo, I want to apologize to you." "Ha?" Leo asked lazily with a trailing tone. Lucas organized his words and said, "I caused you trouble with Ms. Layla's matter." Leo said indifferently, "It's not your fault. But it would have been better if he could have handled it more tactfully." Lucas said, "There must be a win-win solution, but I can't think of one for now." However, Lucas summoned up his courage and said what he had been holding back for the past few days. "I still hope to have more contact with company-related affairs in the future." Leo stopped in his tracks and stared directly at him. Lucas lowered his head, knowing that what he said was very presumptuous. What he meant was that he didn't want to be the president's personal assistant. Having too much involvement in the president's private life will make people look at him with prejudice. For example, Layla scolded him several times for having an affair with the president. He didn't show it on the surface, but actually he was very uncomfortable. He wants to prove himself with his strength and do more things in the company. This is probably what Leo meant by being high-minded. Leo didn't move forward but stood still and asked Lucas, "You're really picky. Do you think you have the right to choose?" Lucas never raised his head. He knew he had no right and he had to do whatever the president arranged. He thought, "Oh no, I've offended the president again. It must be because the lights beside were so beautiful, the night so charming, and the atmosphere so relaxing that he had the guts to tell the president his inner thoughts." Leo looked down at the top of Lucas' head. To match the banquet, he had done his hair today. His black hair lay neatly on his head, making people want to reach out and mess it up. Leo didn't say a word but continued to take steps forward. Lucas was stunned and quickly followed up. The will of the superior is hard to fathom. Sometimes Leo's thoughts are really hard to understand. Moreover, he disdains to explain things to those of lower status than him, so he is extremely hard to figure out. Lucas always stayed half a step behind Leo. The two walked one after the other in the glass corridor. The lights projected on the glass, spreading a faint halo, making it seem as if they were in a crystal fantasy, hazy and dreamy. Leo walked at a moderate pace. He didn't seem angry. Lucas breathed a sigh of relief. Anyway, he had said what he wanted to say. He didn't know if Leo would accept it, nor could he interfere. Speaking of which, they were going back tomorrow. Lucas looked up at the light-polluted sky. He was a bit happy to go home but also felt a faint sense of reluctance. Just then, two people walked towards them. The four bumped into each other in the glass corridor. Lucas widened his eyes. It was actually Benjamin and Thomas. These two had been absent for so long that he had already forgotten about them. Now he met them here. Thomas and Benjamin also didn't want to delay for so long. It's just that for them, tonight's experience had been a bit tortuous. Thomas came to city and saying he was going to visit Benjamin, who was here for a meeting, but actually he was here to attend Caleb's birthday party. He was engaged in design work. He hoped to get to know more influential people, expand his network so that he could become more famous and his works could be sold at a higher price. Coincidentally, his father was an alumnus of Caleb. Thomas pestered his father to get him an invitation to the party. Although they were said to be alumni, Thomas' father and Caleb were from different classes, one in the south and the other in the north, and in different industries. They had no connection, and it was harder than climbing to the sky to force a relationship. But the principal, after all, had some connections. He found someone and said he could get Thomas into Caleb's mansion. Only then did Thomas boldly show off online that he was going to attend the birthday party of a big shot. Naturally, Benjamin wouldn't let this opportunity slip by. In Benjamin's eyes, Thomas always obeyed him. Sure enough, when he casually mentioned it, Thomas agreed to take him along. Today, Thomas and Benjamin came to Mr. Caleb's mansion early. They had agreed to be led in by an acquaintance, but at the entrance they were stopped by the security guards. It turned out that every visiting guest had to undergo an identity check. Thomas and Benjamin were considered irrelevant people and were not allowed to enter the venue. The security for Mr. Caleb's birthday party was extremely strict. After all the guests present were important figures and the safety of the host and guests had to be ensured. Thomas and Benjamin were blocked outside and couldn't get in no matter what. Thomas was so aggrieved that he was about to cry. Benjamin could only comfort and coax him, but there was nothing he could do. In the end, Thomas called his father. His principal father, thousands of miles away, managed to get them into the mansion at night after several hours of efforts. Thomas wiped away his tears, bravely held Benjamin's arm, and rushed inside. The party was almost over, and the two were in a great hurry. Unexpectedly, in their haste, they took the wrong way and accidentally entered the courtyard and then the glass corridor. Just as the magnificent mansion was in sight, they ran into Lucas. Lucas and Leo were standing one in front of the other. Leo obviously also saw the people in front of him and raised his eyebrows. Thomas was holding Benjamin's arm. Both of them were wearing formal dresses. Thomas's was light-colored and Benjamin's was dark-colored. One light and one dark, they made a very good match. However, both of them looked a bit worn and eager, and suddenly seemed a bit embarrassed and not so refined. In contrast, Lucas was wearing a gray suit with hidden patterns. He was extremely delicate from head to toe with a handsome face, a slender waist, and long legs. He looked like a young master no matter how you looked at him. Thomas and Benjamin had the same thought in their minds at the same time. None of the four people moved or made a sound. At this time, Thomas took the initiative. His eye sockets were already red and now he was silently holding back his tears, looking gentle, delicate, and pitiful. He hugged Benjamin's arm tightly, clinging to Benjamin like a koala. Looking at Lucas timidly and aggrievedly, he said, "Don't break us up. We're truly in love." Lucas's mind went blank. Originally, he had rehearsed in his mind countless times how he should behave when he met Thomas and Benjamin. He would wear the most expensive suit and show off in front of them how well he was doing now. But he didn't expect that Thomas would instead pose as a victim, making it seem as if he still couldn't forget Benjamin. At that moment, Lucas remembered what Elizabeth had said. You should also find a good man and show your affection in front of those two. That would be the most satisfying way to get back at them. Sure enough, only magic can defeat magic. A sudden surge of competitiveness clouded Lucas's mind. He took a step forward, grabbed Leo's arm tightly, and shouted, "We're also in true love. Keep your trash to yourself." The underlying message was that he already had someone better.